was an absolutely perfect day to be working with bees. Sunny and clear with forecast temps in the 60s and fruit trees blooming all around. My first order of business was to get all of my equipment down to the micro apiary. Let me tell you, if you don't like to haul stuff around, take up golf. One more trip up the hill to get the bees, and I was ready to start. The bees come in these boxes called packages. Each package holds about 3 pounds of bees. That's about 9,000. Plus a queen bee and a quart can of sugar syrup to keep them from starving on the trip up from California. Imagine you and 9,000 people you've never met before stuffed into a box and shoved in a truck. You'd be pissed off. And they were. The first order of business was to take a hive apart to put in one of the packages. First the roof comes off, then the inner cover, which keeps the bees from messing up the roof, and finally the feeder spacer, which turned out to be more trouble than it was worth. Take out a couple of frames to put the bees in, and you're set to go. I got 2 kinds of bees, Italians and Carniolans. These are the Italians. The little tab on the top of the box holds the queen separate from the rest of the bees in a little cage. But first, you've got to get the can out. It's like a puzzle. The first thing you do, and I'm not kidding here, is to smack the package on the ground to dislodge the bees and get them really upset. Then you remove the can and very carefully extract the queen cage while keeping the angry bees inside the box. Here's the queen in her box with just a couple bees riding along. That means that the bees have accepted her as their ruler. Now I loosen the can again and give the box another smack on the ground just to make sure the bees are good and stirred up. I pull out the can, and here come the bees. At this point you can see why I'm wearing the funny outfit. You'll see beekeepers working all the time without protective gear. Not me. I'm a pussy. After that it's just a matter of pouring the bees out of the box and into the hive, hoping all the time they just don't fly away. I lean the now almost empty box up against the front of the hive so that the remaining bees can climb out and find their new home at their leisure. Here's what it looks like in the hive. The final step in putting in the bees is to release the queen from her little cage. You really don't want to let her fly away because all the other bees will take off after her. $76, right up to the top of a tree. Here I've opened the screen on the cage and I reach down into the pile of bees and let the queen walk out, taking command of her minions. Now it's time to reassemble the hive. I put back in the frames I took out to give me space to pour the bees into. I'm trying really hard not to squash any bees, especially the queen. And then, using equal care, I reassembled the rest of the parts. When I did this, it took about 10 minutes. I'll spare you the wait for most of it. This is just what it took to put the feeder spacer back on. You remember, the one that's more trouble than it's worth? Inside the feeder spacer goes a plastic bag filled with sugar syrup. I'm told that the bees will get out of the way as the bag is carefully lowered on top of them. Not in my experience. The other guys must have had smarter bees or something. Here I'm cutting little slits in the bag to let the syrup leak out, and you can see the bees running out for a taste. This whole bag thing needs to be rethought. After another 10 minutes or so of trying to get the inner cover back on without smashing any bees and instigating an attack, I'm ready to put the secondary feeder on. I decided, another mistake, to give the bees some extra food, so I put the can from the package on top of the hole in the inner cover. I should have forgotten the whole plastic bag thing and just done this. Finally, I cover the can with an extra hive body. making sure I align it to satisfy my Capricornian tendency for order, and at last replace the roof. One down, one to go. I'll spare you a lot of the detail on the second hive. Suffice it to say that it was different. The package had the Carniolan queen, the can got stuck, and the whole process turned out different. Not worse, just different. I don't know how they got the can in, but it was a royal pain to get out. The queen in this package hadn't been with her new bees long enough for them to adapt to her. This is evidenced by the couple hundred or so bees hanging from the cage, trying to kill the queen. This means I have to give them another day to accept her, or else it's back to the bee store for a replacement queen. I'll have to put the cage in with a piece of marshmallow that they can chew their way through. I have to secure the queen cage to the frame, but that means using a stapler, and bees really don't like loud noises. With the queen now safely secured, I can dump in the rest of the bees. That means I've got to whack them on the ground, shake them around, pound on the box. If anybody did this to me, I would so not want to make any honey for them. Yeah, maybe once or twice more, just to really rile them up. After that, it goes just like the first hive. I put the package next to the hive so any stragglers can get out, then carefully replace the frames I took out to make bee dumping space. At least this time I don't have to worry about the queen. The feeders go on. Did I mention that the bag feeder is more trouble than it's worth? And finally, I seal the whole thing up. Ta-da! Now it's time to let them get some rest and get me a cocktail. When I come back in a few hours, the bees are flying and happy. Must be better than being in a box stuck in the back of a truck.